Good morning. Welcome to a brand new week, a brand new edition of Frank and Candid. Just coming off of a long holiday weekend. Hope we all had lots of fun, got everything we wanted done, and ready for this brand new week of productivity. It was a weekend for me, a good one at that. Had the opportunity to spend the weekend over in Nevis, and I got to tell you, it's still nice. It's more than just a saying or slogan. Nevis is nice. Those people are nice and everything. Every time you get a chance to go over to Nevis, you come back with the same feeling. Nevis nice. And part of the reasons why it remains so nice is because of the people. You get some really nice people who try to make sure that you have a good time every time they run into you. They go out of their way to make you feel comfortable and have a nice time. So from Friday to yesterday, it was all good, with the exception of one solemn moment. One sad moment, because my wife and I did attend a funeral on Saturday and in that connection, just want to say good morning to Miss Patricia Bartlett, who is the daughter of the deceased, for that funeral we attended on Saturday. Hope she's doing well this morning. Also, well, beyond that sad moment, the rest of the weekend was just great. And some of the people over in Nevis who made that happen and made it so nice is, got to hail up people like Cliff, Baghouse, people like Des at Dee's Chill Spot over there on Government Road, and over in Ramsbury, people like Shorty and Leon's Bar in Ramsbury, people like Elvis, people like over in Fountain, Cabo, people like Ernestine and Emmerdine, all people who try to make your stay on Nevis great every time. All right, so with that, my thank you to all of them for a great time. With that, let's go to what's in the news. For the first time since the start of Antigua and Barbuda's vaccination program this year, Prime Minister Gaston Brown has warned residents of mandatory vaccination. He said this could be implemented if residents do not respond to the call to vaccinate voluntarily. I mean, we have been trying to avoid introducing any mandatory requirements to force vaccinations, but I want to signal here that if we have to do it, we will do so. So says an agitated Prime Minister on his weekly radio program. So it's going to be an inescapable fact that people have no choice but to get vaccinated. They either do so voluntarily to protect lives and livelihood or be forced to do so, he warned. And at the end of the day, I am going to make myself and my cabinet colleagues any decision that is in the well-being of the country, he added. That is not a threat. That is just encouraging people to voluntarily get vaccinated, the Prime Minister said. Okay, before I move on, let me, I see that what happened when you start calling people's name, you miss you miss some people. Also, let me say good morning to Colin Archibald. Colin Archibald, also one of those good people over in Nevis. He is, actually, Colin was a former employee here at ZIZ back in the day when I was working here. He was a co-worker of mine, and he's a party guy over there in Nevis these days, having fun. All right, this morning I want to talk about something that came up last week on one of the editions of Frank and Candid, among other things. And it has to do with bribery and certain people's interpretation of bribery. There are the book definitions of bribery, but people pretty much know bribery or have an idea of what bribery is. And especially, I mean, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a way of attributing bribery to the political system here. Whether that is true or not, people just throw it around, throw around the term bribery and so on. But it's the offering, the giving, the receiving, or soliciting of any item of value to influence the actions of another person. Person who is in charge, or to get people to do something for you. So with regards to governmental operations, essentially bribery is corrupt solicitation, acceptance, or transfer of value in exchange for official action. Now, bribery requires two participants, at least, right? One to give the bribe and one to take it. So we have to be careful, because one person cannot bribe because he has to give to somebody. Right? Somebody has to take it. And that brings us to the question of intent. Bribery is committed at the moment of offering or asking. It does not matter whether something of value is ever given. There must be an understanding between the two parties. What the law calls a quid pro quo, or this for that, or something for something, to put it our way. But there are legal defense to bribery. There are several defenses available to people when accused of bribery, because bribery is a specific intent crime. All right? Some of the legal defenses that people offer to say, I had no intent. And so usually there can be no conviction of bribery if there was no intent to bribe. All right? Something may seem that way to you looking on, but if there was no intent to bribe, that is a defense. Right? So this means that the defendant cannot be convicted of bribery if they did not mean to influence the official through offering something of value. Now, the problem with that, and I said this before, the problem here is that intent is a tricky thing to prove. I mean, how do you prove what my intent was? If I tell you that wasn't my intent, how do you prove my intent? You almost have to get inside my head. Sometimes there's some clear-cut stuff, but it's not saying it's impossible, because intent has been proven in courts before. But it is not easy to prove intent. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Also, people have used defenses like intoxication. The defendant was too intoxicated to formulate the necessary intent to commit bribery. Right? And then there's also the defense of entrapment. The criminal defendant did not have the original idea to commit bribery and was influenced by the police to commit the crime. In other words, sometimes police officers, in carrying out their duty, they get a little carried away. And sometimes what they do to make you commit certain crime has been a defense, because you're making the argument that it was entrapment. Right? So those are all different defenses that people use when it comes to the issue of bribery. Now, so that lays out our understanding in terms of the book understanding of bribery and defenses of bribery and all of that. But really, to the meat of the matter here is that here in the region, we have this way, and I think it is throughout the region, we have this this way of political parties reaching out to their citizens within the diaspora to get them to come home to vote. Now, it has been said that when they reach out to people in the diaspora to get them to come home to vote, that's normal campaign speech, free speech, whatever. It's okay, because you can solicit votes from anywhere, from any person who is registered and can legally vote. So if I solicit votes out there in the diaspora, that's fine. So you are legally registered, you can come home and you can vote. But where it gets dicey for some people is they're saying, and this is where it is for me contentious, they're saying that if a political party provides the means, provides the transportation for you to come home and vote, some people are saying that that's bribery. Now, again, I am not a legal expert. I'm not a legal anything, as a matter of fact. But I've always wondered how that works. How do you prove that that is bribery? Because I am seeing that I can make the argument, or the political party can make the argument, that they're facilitating people getting to the polls. They're providing transportation for people going to the polls. Now, we, our political parties here in St. Kitts do that every election, right? It has not been referred to as bribery. On every election day in this country, since I know myself, people have provided transportation to the polls. Political parties, as part of their planning for election, have all provided transportation to the polls for persons wishing to do so, whether because of age or disability or whatever. They have, part of their planning is that they provide transportation on election day for people trying to get to the polls. Now, I really have not heard anybody go to that and say that's bribery. However, if the same political party provides a plane ride from New York to St. Kitts to vote, or St. Kitts Nevis, to vote, it is said in some people's mind that it's bribery. Now, to me, it's happening over and over, with the exception of the last election because of COVID, and so there was no way to bring in the plane loads of people to go to the polls and vote. So, with the exception of the last election, last year. But other than that, it happens every election. And that is where people believe that if you provide a plane ride for a person out there, whether it be New York, Washington, wherever, to get to the polls, by the mere fact that you're providing a plane ride, you're offering a bribe. Now, the other thing people would say is that they really did not, or they don't really have to say, vote for candidate X to get the plane ride, because it is also a fact that people who get on a charter that is provided for or paid for by Party X sometimes fly in and vote for Party Y. So it is not necessarily, or it is not guaranteed that the person who gets a ticket from Party X will come in and vote for Party X, because it has happened where people have come in and voted for Party Y or vice versa, regardless to who provided the ticket. So, with all that in mind, do you still believe that providing a ticket, a plane ticket, being different from providing a bus ride or car ride to the polls, do you still believe, and can you prove bribery just because it's a plane ride? You may think different, but we'll just take a break, and we'll come back on the other side of the break. It will be your time to call in at 465-2555 locally, or 718-577-2916 is the overseas number if that's more convenient. We'll be back after this break with your thoughts.
Care carries the very best in branded and generic products. To take care of the newest addition to the family, we have Similac Baby Formula, Johnson's Shampoo, and Johnson's Baby Oil, a men's medicated powder, QC Baby Wipes, electrolytes, and more.
Once we're vaccinated, and everybody gon' be safe. Everybody gon' be safe. One kind, one people. We are roll up to roll up, cause no man's alone. Do what's right, cause I love you. It's only just a phase. Once we're vaccinated, and everybody gon' be safe. Everybody gon' be safe. One kind, one people. We are roll up to roll up, cause no man's alone. Do what's right, cause I love you. Brother, my sister. And we're in this together, my sister, my brother. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much. I think it's better for us, yeah. It's better for us, yeah. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much, yeah. It's better for us. Tell your mommy to roll up, to roll out.
Bless up. Dejo here, and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and, most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same, because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
See, you gotta talk about my intent, and how do you get there from where you are. Is a tough, it's a stretch sometimes, but not that it has never been proven. Let's go to the phones and say good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Would I speak to you a minute after lunch?
Say again, I'm not.
A minute after lunch, please.
It won't be possible now, but if you want to speak to, speak to the engineer out the line. So, all right. Yeah, so the question is, and I've laid out what a lot of people refer to as bribery. And I'm just trying to see how how you would come down at that point. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Good morning, Brother Tony.
Hey, good morning.
Well, Brother Tony, I'm telling you, right? From since back in the 80s coming up and I started to involve myself in politics. I know that politics always a dirty trick. When it comes to some candidates. Because they go out there and they do a lot of things to get vote. You understand? And this thing taking place all the time. This thing it become a norm. By election after election, politicians go out there and they get something for a vote. And that has nothing to do with who do it or who not do it. Wrong is wrong all the way. But anyway, the program was going on. Election come, that happened. Now this election, 2020 election, one candidate take a next candidate to the courts. Set up some woman or some people to go in the courts to talk about something about the bribe. Now I want to know if that candidate who take these people to the courts through evidence that they get a bribe, if he ain't bribe them to go in the courts too. Because something for something, nobody going in the court was going to tell a lawyer go protest to nothing unless they get something. So that is just what I want to know. And politics all the time going to be the same thing, nothing going to change. Tony, only how we change? If the government pass down law, going to and pass these rules about political bribing and these things, and we lie them got to be strong here, and our court system got to be strong. Whether you're a government or you're opposition, and you're going to court for anything about bribe, the penalty will become against you. I see that. But as far as I'm concerned, bringing people pan plane, as far as I'm concerned, is a bribe, and all the parties do it. So I don't want come on know that this thing happen all the time, and now it take one candidate to come up with an idea to take somebody to the court. All right, then, Tony.
Okay. All right. I don't know if that is the answer I'm looking for in terms of whether something is a bribe or not. I mean, if your rationale is that everybody do it, I don't know if that is the rationale I'm looking for. I genuinely want to see how we prove that something like that is a bribe, because I don't know that other than anecdotally whether or not we can say that with any legal power, because not because, as they call us, everybody do it. I mean, everybody could commit crime, right? And a lot of people can get away with stuff, and been getting away with stuff doesn't make it right. So that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. But I don't believe that the politician or the political party actually says to you, come vote for me, I'll give you a ticket. I don't think they spell it out that way, but let's go back to the phone and see what you have to say. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Nayas.
Good morning.
Good morning to all the listeners at home and abroad. Let me first congratulate the Fire and Rescue. I think yesterday or today is International Firefighters Day.
Mm-hmm. Today is, yes.
Today, yes. So I want to commend them for their services. May the Lord continue to bless and protect them. I recall a couple times they come down to the Magnet Community Center, where we have the Association of Persons with Disability, and give demonstrations and also make donations. So I want to commend them. Now the question you asked, it has to be something that is given with a certain expectation. Now you may say, I mean, I say there's something we call implied, you know, in our account.
Yeah.
Something is not stated, but it has to be calculated in. I recall some years ago there was the incident in Nevis where somebody was trying to prove by using their phone, I don't know if you recall the incident, to prove I voted for you.
I've heard of that, yes.
Yes. Now, after that, you are forbidden to take cell phones into the voting booth. You're not allowed to bring out any of the papers to prove. So that makes it a bit more difficult to prove. Because they're not going in what is expected, but you can't prove it unless you saw the ballot and it was even later confirmed. And even if somebody said, well, I don't vote for you, how do you know they did it? So the proof is a bit difficult unless you have mechanisms set in place where after the voting you can prove that the person carried through the action.
But Ms. Henry, let me ask you this though. One of the difficulties is if that person comes out with an intent to prove to you that they did what they said they're going to do for you for
then
whatever,
they commit an offense, so
exactly my point. So why would somebody come out and to prove to you that they committed a crime?
Watch me. If you ask me now, be realistic. If you tell me, I'm going to give you this to vote for me. And you know, outside of all of the voting, the electoral places, polling booths, polling stations, your parties have the people set up. They're ticking off even before you go in.
All right.
They are assuming well,
yes.
Now you get afraid, so now you for us, I tick your name. So if your name tick, the assumption is that you took the bribe. So maybe we need to see who name was tick. Since you can't
but you know, it still doesn't prove that I did. You know, because you're making the assumption because I got the fridge. You're making the assumption that I'm going in and I could go in and do something else.
That is why people do these polling, because they don't even ask you. In some countries, you could ask who you vote for and exit.
Yes.
Polls. But here you don't.
No.
People assume.
Right.
You could even go in and spoil the ballot.
You could, yes.
You know, but until it begin to hurt all the political parties in a significant way, it will not stop. Then they will have to get together and say, look, we have to stop this thing because it costs. They have to go out and get money from sometimes shady potential investors. Can't pretend. People who demanding things. So when you come and say, I'd like to get some money to fund my
campaign,
platform, my campaign. They want something. I mean, you got to be naive. And then the electorate is adding to it because they're demanding more and more because they now realize it's a competition. So they are actually demanding my vote is worth this, my vote is worth that. So until all the parties, all the political parties get together and say, look, this thing is out of hand, and have documents signed. Because it don't make no sense, both of you agree it out of hand and then you're giving undercover. So they all acknowledge that it is costing. They have to actually go out there and give away maybe quarter of the country, half of the country. in order to give you. You may not think it's a bribe, but it's a bribe because you are demanding it. It's a bribe is a gift in exchange for something, you know.
Right.
So whether they say it or not, because in law there's something called implied.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that they don't have bribe. They do. Bribing go on big time. Overseas voters, they overdo it. They want tickets sometimes for them and their family, and they want a place to stay if they have no relative. They want transportation. They want meals and entertainment when they're here. You know, so all of these things are bribe. The case in Dominica, I found that so interesting and people quoting it. People got enough to be quoting the case that was sent back from the CCJ, where the Dominica Labour Party held, I think it was 2 concerts, and the opposition, maybe they couldn't raise the money, them to court for treating. Well, I don't know, maybe only Dr. Joe. I don't know who is saying it's got enough to do it. They bring in all the Jamaica top singers and whatever, the top performers from home and abroad. All the parties do it and they try to tie you up on the night before the election day.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, you know. But you see, I even said to myself, a lot of the people making the complaint have no moral authority to be making them. And that is my problem. I am looking for people who are independent of a political party to bring up the issue, or for political parties themselves to get together and agree that, look, we're not going to that. If you're overseas and you want to vote, you pay. You buy your own ticket. We don't want an underhand deal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right then.
All right. Thank you for that input. And yes, as the caller said, I mean, in law, yes, there is such a thing as implied. Even then, it must be strong, if you're going to go that way. Implied, calculated, and what have you. But it is true. I mean, you and I can sit back and we can look at something, because you kind of know it when you see it, as they would say. You could see the implied and all that. But, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Yes, good morning. Well, Philippine just make the ear kind of perk up. I didn't know the overseas voters was offered such perk all these years. I'm buying my own ticket coming home. I didn't know I could get even a place to stand or rent a car.
Oh.
Imagine that, eh?
Oh, okay.
I'm just being bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, what Sylvie said makes sense. But to me, all the concert and all those stuff, I don't think they should waste that money on all those things. For me, all those are not necessary. Because at the end of the day, if you stick to the issue and you know what the people, listen to the people and you know how to work with the people. Stick to the issue, and because people already know who they're going to vote for. Some people, their vote already set. Because like Sylvie said, but on election day, when you go to the poll, you see people across like in Canada, we have the Labour people down on one side on the table and the Plan people are on one side at the table. And when they check out, because that's ours. You know who you already. So Sylvie make a lot of sense. Stick to the issue. Stop waste money on party and all the rum and the drink up. Save that money to help the economy and help the people in some other ways. Mm-hmm. That's my point, but I really didn't know that overseas voters were getting such perk. All the years I buy my own tickets. You have a good day.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that input. Good morning. Good morning, caller. You're live. Okay, lost that caller. Good morning. You're live.
Yeah, good morning, Naya.
Hey, good morning.
I don't know if you form them who do sell bed. The hard with them who do sell blocks get paid. 2016 when they give blocks all over Singapore. Blacks reach all the mountain. Blacks reach all to Side Road. People get blacks from them the house. So I don't know if they don't pay for them things like people getting beds, poor, all kind of things I hear people get. Them the real true things, you know. And I don't believe you can stop easily, you know. I don't believe my cousin sell a lot of things just now, me send me my first cousin there. And I don't believe all these things will stop. Because man want to win, nobody want to lose. It told him about it that nobody want to lose. You know, we don't play cricket, we play football, we don't go in school, we do everything, all them things there. We don't want to lose. Pitching marble, we don't want to lose. And this everything that's work out to the same problem. All right, all the best now, you.
Okay, all the best to you. Okay. Ms. Henry referenced the election that took place in Dominica. And that happened. Even the Organization of American States, CARICOM, and Commonwealth had asked them to implement some electoral reform, which they never did. And so they went into the election in 2009 and 2014. They said this was an election in which agents transported hundreds of overseas voters to Dominica after having bribed them with airfare and spending money. It was that illegal conduct which complained of that led to the recommendation of the OAS, CARICOM, and Commonwealth Electoral Reform Mission of 2019. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Good morning to you as well. How are you today?
I am well.
Okay. Have you heard that there might be a Cuban vaccine? Have you heard that?
Yes, I have. So
it's confirmed then?
Well, I know Cuba is developing 5 different vaccines actually. One is in the phase 3 trial stage.
Oh, I'm hearing that one is good enough for one shot, and that you won't be able to contract the disease if you take the one shot. Have you heard that too?
No, I know about the one shot, but I am not so sure of the details other than that.
But if that is so, that will be very good. And maybe Caribbean people should try and seek that. You know, if we have a choice, it would be better than we have just one, you know. But I think I heard you read out something, and I think you said that the Prime Minister mentioned what you read out, something to say, encouraging people to take the vaccine. And
that was the Antigua Prime Minister.
Oh, I thought was okay.
No.
Oh.
That was a story from Antigua.
Oh, okay. Thanks before. I'm glad I asked the question.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you did too.
Okay, good. But it would be nice if the Cuban vaccine could be available to us, you know, so that we would have a choice, whether the AstraZeneca or the other one. Because if the Cuban vaccine is so good as I'm hearing, then, you know, if we have a choice, that'll be so good for us. Okay, that's it for now then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, right.
All right, I'm all for choice. But okay, all right. So, but we're talking about bribery and elections and all of that. Yeah, but just to clarify, the story I read this morning was from Antigua and Barbuda. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Good morning. When General said, right, when you get a sports program going, because every day you see the same thing. Morning, some political thing. You know it's some political thing. You want a sports program, you have to find a spot for a sports program.
Okay. I'll pass on the information. All right. Okay. Got another caller? Okay. Yeah. So we're talking about bribery and elections and so on. And so we sometimes, I could say that people look at certain things and we can all say, well, okay, we see bribery here, or we think this is bribery. And the question is, though, and it still comes down to if the opposition or whoever is going to try and prove that, that's the difficult thing. Even though to us or to the layman we may say that stinks of bribery, that smells like bribery, that looks like bribery. Unfortunately, when it comes to the court system, if you're going into the court, the question of evidence is going to come into play, because it's not the same as having that conversation between you and I agreeing that yeah, that look like bribery. It's not the same thing. It's an uphill battle when you start to involve the judicial system to try and prove or to get redress for what you think is bribery. And so that is part of the problem throughout the region. And Carla mentioned Dominica. The CARICOM observers, the OAS observers in Dominica had things to say about that, in the reports on the Dominica elections back then. But and they made some recommendations to change certain things. The government, the AG in Dominica, rejected those proposals, never implemented those recommendations coming from the OAS and CARICOM electoral reform mission, and they went into the election without those electoral reforms. And at the end of it, the reports that came out where the ruling party again had a landslide victory. And so it leaves suspicions in the minds of people. But it's just that, suspicions. Right? They too were involved in bringing in plane loads of people, paying airfare. And in the case of Dominica, they talk about airfare, spending money, and all of that. Now, again, I don't know of any successful attempt at proving this in court. And so, like one caller said, it happens over and over and over again. And the way he put it is, well, everybody doing it, and it won't stop. I don't see it. I don't see an end to it, because nobody is getting penalized. Nobody is going and making a strong case and proving a case with some penalties coming at the end of that. If that happens, maybe there's a chance that it will change. But for now, it's not happening. So we go about our business, and then we do the same things on a regular basis. Now, we can tie in then the other issue, which relate to overseas voters. There is a push from some quarters to restrict persons registering to vote. Let me put it another way, to put in to the legislation that any person, right, wishing to register to vote should meet certain residency requirement, right? And when we talk about that, people tend to go straight to overseas voters, even though it refers to every person. It doesn't single out any person or any person residing in any place or another place. It speaks to a residency requirement for registration regardless of where you may be at the moment. Doesn't specify anybody. And so there have been recommendations out there about how much time that should be. From 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, a year. That has been out there. As to what it will end up to be, that's still up in the air. And we will see when it actually comes to Parliament. And so the consultations are still ongoing as to where that should end up. Now the reason why people immediately go to overseas and believe that it's an attack on overseas voters is because of the fact that they're overseas, and their argument is that if you are living overseas or residing overseas and the requirement is 3 months, for example, they're saying that, well, who can, unless you're a retired individual or have the means to leave work for 3 months and reside here in the Federation for that long, get registered, then it is a burden for people like that. But residency requirements are nothing new. In every jurisdiction there are residency requirements to vote. And it is just that, it doesn't specify where you are. Because I am living in St. Kitts and it would apply to me. Doesn't matter where I live, it would apply to every single person. And so, but granted, if you don't live here, and you see, that's the issue, that's the sticking point. If you don't live here, you may not be able to comply with that requirement, and that gets people upset because they want to still vote. On the other side of that argument, people will say, well, you shouldn't be able to vote if you cannot provide proof of residency here for at least whatever it will be. And so they go on further to say then you shouldn't be able to vote if you don't live here. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm just giving you all sides of the argument. And it is thought then that if that is the case, it would have the effect of also eliminating this issue of plane loads coming in to a point. Because if you can register and you can comply, then you still can come in on a plane load. But anyway, let's go back to the phones. Good morning, welcome to Frank and Candid.
In the name of our great African ancestors, especially the most honorable Marcus Messiah, Garvey, and Queen and Sing. God bless you, my beloved African, but over you, the family.
We're doing good, doing good. You?
Good, man, good, and the clan is good. Oh, brother, listen, brother, nothing ain't going to change, beloved, until a lot of politicians get jailed and the people, personhood a bribe, and they accept the bribe, beloved, go to jail. Nothing going to change until politicians, you got to make an example of one high-ranking politician, and then you the person who take the bribe, a person, you got to make an example of them too, but you got to start with the politicians them, and all political parties, brother, because like my good brother Mr. Politics said, all of them do give people bribe, beloved. Whether it's PAM, NRP, CCM, PLP, who just come on the other day, and the guy from St. Paul's Party. But all of them, I'm not saying like all politicians inside of the political parties, you know. All of them do take bribe, but some out of all of them political parties do be taking bribe, beloved brother. They does. beloved. But you see, it's hard to prove because if you go and take the bribe, even if you get a man camera, you put yourself, you jeopardize yourself too. So, but the legislation must be changed and they got to enforce the legislation and carry it up. Because look at all these people who used to go in the number 4 from over number 6. Beloved, St. Paul's, Dateby, especially Dateby and passing ground. Me not ask nobody, me tell them. Because I had family members, beloved. Right, who do it, beloved. And that's no allegation. But you see, nobody will get jail. If you make an example of them, that's what will solve the problem slowly but surely. But on this, the report out on Antigua and Barbuda, the mad guy up there, he just crazy, beloved. But the people, for pensioners and all kind of things, must they go mandatory? Come on, anybody. And if the administration is saying it's committing nonsense, but there ain't no way you continue to support them if they commit their foolishness, beloved. You got to give people the option, educate people, and if they want to take it, they take it. If they don't want to take it, they don't take it. And like I've been saying, when Cuba come and they start to distribute theirs, why you don't get this thing from Cuba? And you know I've been saying that for a while, over 2 months now. Get things from Cuba, looking something, you're supposed to know, beloved. You know that Ralph Gonzalez gone to the Russians them to get his Sputnik because he said, yes. So that's what I'm saying. Why you don't go to Cuba when Cuba is in, I could put my life on the line. But if you get it from Cuba, beloved, most people will take it. You will see speed people will go and take it, including myself. If I could get out of here without, you know what I mean, if they come in and nonsense.
I don't see how you're going to get out, so.
Huh?
I don't see how you're going to get out without being vaccinated, so I know.
But I could get out, man, but it just depends because it's not mandatory right now. You just got to take the test. But again, too, you know, the 10 days thing need to come down to 7 days, man. Calling on the administration again. Come on, 10 days? People who don't fully vaccinated and everything. So why sense you take the vaccine for?
I think
and they're going to get your thing quarantine for 14 days. It makes no sense.
No. I think I saw something where we're going down to 9 days.
Well, it got to be 7, brother. It got to be 7.
Well, unfortunately, you don't make the policy, so.
No, but listen. Politicians don't elect themselves, you know.
Yeah.
People is the one who put them there and people support them, whether you vote for them, yes or not. You got other means of support. You just can't support politicians, whether by voting, monetary, or vocal support, and then you just leave them to do what the hell they want. I'm not in that. Not this African from there.
Well, they're taking a step, and then we'll wait for the next step.
Brother, you got to move further than that, man.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, beloved brother, continue to listen. Pan-Africanism our place. One love.
All right. Okay. You got a caller? Okay. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning, welcome.
Brother Tony again.
Yes, sir.
Again.
Go ahead.
No, Brother Tony, not about say it just now there. It's the people, right? Because according to who party in government, and these things taking place, when the party win the government, it ain't the problem anymore. You understand? Mm-hmm. And this is a lot got to the people, especially in different constituencies, especially where your party might weak with PAM or with PLP or with Labour. That party go and they do what they got to do. And they carry the thing. Now look at it. We had a problem here with the Chinese community, with the Chinese them, right? They said that the government was bringing too much Chinese. And now the government lose. These people who was backing up the Chinese them, was backing up the Chinese them. They say now too much Chinese coming in the country now. And them was one day, was when the government was there, to bail out and say that Chinese flocking the country. Indian is flocking the country, this flocking the country. Chinese flag in the country, and it was happening before. But because the government in is a problem to them. You can't be right. You got to be consistent. They got to be consistent. That's why you see that we end up in all these problems. And so much people coming in and getting our job. When the party in everything is right to them, nothing wrong for them in the party in government. Nothing wrong. What was wrong before, it come right. And that is, the system is bad. So I just call in on the people to do the right thing. And if we do the right thing, we won't get all this confusion when the election come around, but a political bribe. Because that is what everybody look for now. So the election, everybody look on now, and they know where it start from. Okay then, Tony.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning again. This morning I was listening to my television, and there was the issue being discussed in Europe, where they are planning to implement vaccine passport. But they were saying the passport will specify which vaccine they recognize. So it's not all. They said they were talking about the Chinese one because they say China is sending out vaccine and only about 20% of its population is vaccinated. And, they have some issues with China. And so that is what they're saying. Now, I am challenging people, if you're serious about getting the Cuban vaccine, why don't you get a list of names? Because remember, the government have to buy them, believe me. Apart from what they got from India, they had to pay for the rest. So it can't be 1 and 2. A lot of them were saying, they're waiting for the Johnson & Johnson. Now they're back out. Suppose the government has gone ahead and ordered them. You see what I'm saying? You got to be proactive. If you're serious that you will take, if it is the Cuban one, get together and compile a list. Because these vaccines, they don't come single dose. So that is a suggestion to all those who are waiting for the Cuban one. And all who are waiting for the Johnson & Johnson. Do you still want it? Because you see, the interesting thing about this whole vaccine conversation is that while it is true, you're free to decide to take or not to take, but nobody is willing to take the consequences. You take it, there's a consequence, there's a risk. You don't take it, there's a risk.
Yep.
But our people are not willing to take the risk that goes with their decision. And I'm saying it again today. If you know you want the Cuban one of you you got Dr. Joe and Dr. Douglas. Get together and compile a list so that the government or COVAX could know that there is a certain number. And remember, it has to be certified by the WTO. All right, then.
Okay. All right. I think we got time for another call. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Noyes.
Good morning.
I see you all the time, so I can't stay long.
Okay.
But Brazil and India now. Two people lose so much of the low one. They bang up the nurses and the doctor them.
Yeah, I see some crazy stuff.
Yeah, 2 nurses get injured. But this is a week ago story, more than a week ago. So anyway, you're out of time, so
yeah,
and I'm going to for that.
I am. Thank you for that acknowledgement. All right. Well, thank you all for your input, the phone calls, recommendations, comments, what have you. Thank you all. That's going to do it for me today. I'm Tony Nass. Go out and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk again the next time we're right here on Frank and Candid.
Rise Radio, entertaining the nation, enjoyed by the world.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to a Mailjet